Greetings. In this video, we will be looking at the deepening global oil crisis due to the US-Iran conflict in the Middle East. At the time we are recording the video, the Strait of Hormuz has been effectively blockaded by Iran for over a month, now disrupting the flow of crude oil and natural gas out of the Middle East. This accounts for nearly 20% of the global crude oil and 40% of natural gas production, effectively taken off the market. In theory, this should lead to oil prices skyrocketing and globally economies significantly slowing down to levels observed in the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020. But if you were to look outside your windows, everything appears to be normal, provided if you are not living in the Middle East, which is an active conflict zone right now. So why does everything feel normal and mostly unaffected by conflict in the Middle East, even though there is a critical energy crisis on the horizon? Well, this is because the ripple effects form the Middle East. Conflict hasn't reached us or is just starting to arrive, and the normal we see right now has been artificially manufactured, which does not reflect the magnitude of the crisis we are currently facing. So to understand the scenario, let's see how the global oil and gas supply route works. Crude oil and natural gas are a dominant form of energy used to fuel the global economy. Hence, it is essential for nations to either extract their own oil from their natural deposits or import from other oil-producing nations. Coincidentally, majority of the proven oil and natural gas deposits are found just in a few places on Earth, big portions of which are located in the Middle East. In order to transport the oil extracted in the Middle East to other parts of the globe, a supply chain of really massive ships called supertankers are used, which can carry about 2 to 4 million barrels of crude oil in a single trip. This is the most cost-effective, safe, and efficient way to transport a large quantities of oil and gas compared to other form of transport such as oil pipelines, by road or by air. The only downside to using gigantic ships to move oil is that they are painfully slow. The top cruising speed of a supertanker is just 12 to 17 knots, or 22 to 31 kilometers per hour, which is as fast an average bicycle rider. Now imagine how much time it will take cycling from Dubai in UAE to Tokyo in Japan, which is 11,584 kilometers away. Mathematically, it will take about a month, which is a very long time. Hence, most of the ships that depart from the Middle East with crude oil and other cargo on average take about a month or little under to reach most destinations around the world. Hence, to avoid gaps in the oil supply, the importing nation get around this speed limitation by having a continuous string of supertankers moving between the pickup and drop-off sites, forming a continuous supply chain like a blood vessel. This continuous supply chain has been disrupted and blocked due to the Middle East conflict, starting effectively from 2nd of March when traffic through the Strait of Hormuz fell from over 100 per day to minimal numbers. The oil that the importing nations are receiving currently are from the ships that had left Hormuz before the 2nd of March and are just reaching their destinations after a month of sea voyage. But there will be no more ships arriving after this form the Middle East, and the energy scarcity will start to materialize if it hasn't already in the coming weeks April. This is why we have seen the leadership of key oil importing countries like Britain, Australia, India address their citizens about the impending oil crisis. If you are now starting to grasp the severity of the situation we are in, unfortunately there is one more key aspect to discuss that is about to make things much worse than they already are, and that is how the crude oil markets work. Since crude oil is a global commodity, hence it is intensely traded on the open markets based on demand and supply. To understand this, let's see how the oil is priced. So oil-producing nations formed coalitions or agreements to control the price of oil by regulating the market supply, like OPEC and OPEC Plus in the Middle East. The oil-consuming nations have little to no say in this and have to agree to the price set by OPEC, but this system also has a third entity called the speculators, who price oil based on future demand. Hence, if the speculators feel there will be a decrease in demand, they sell oil future for cheaper, bring down oil price by increasing supply, and if they sense an increase in demand, they buy oil futures and decreasing total oil supply, making oil expensive. So what is happening in the oil market right now is that since 20% of oil supply from the Middle East is taken off the supply pool, the market should naturally predict an increase in demand due to decrease in supply and should naturally raise the price of crude oil, which is what we see happening since mid-March. This is very bad for everyone, but especially for America, since even though US has the largest crude oil reserves, simultaneously they are largest consumers of crude oil. Now what the American leadership has done to suppress or control oil prices to convince IEA member countries to launch their largest ever coordinated release of 400 million barrels of oil from emergency reserves and allow previously sanctioned countries like Russia and ironically even Iran to sell some of their oil to the global markets. This combined with pragmatic statements to end the Middle East conflict soon from US President Donald Trump has helped rein in the oil prices from skyrocketing. However, this is just a temporary fix and will only delay the inevitable depletion of the global oil supply pool faster as the rate of oil consumptions observed today. What comes next is the real crisis. In the best-case scenario, if the Middle East conflict is resolved shortly in a couple of weeks, there will still be a major energy crisis, as the emergency reserves that are flooding the market today will need to be refilled along with the regular demand, which means extra demand for crude oil and prices staying inflated for months due to the slow-moving supply chain resulting in a major economic slowdown and inflation of goods. In the worst case, if the conflict goes on for months, most of the oil-importing countries will need to shut down major economic activity and impose pandemic-like curfews on their citizens to conserve whatever oil is left in the reserves. Big cities will be the first to be affected by the oil crisis as lockdowns are imposed and economic activity shut down. Next will be critical industries, followed by farming activity. And if we cannot secure another oil supplier or the conflict stretches for a long time, we can expect adverse conditions like social unrest as government order will collapse, widespread famine as farming will be impacted. Keep in mind this is just from a shortage of crude oil. We have not discussed the impact of natural gas shortage, which will be similar if not worse. Hence, observing the current global conditions, it seems that there will inevitably be an energy crisis in the near future, even though this by no means will be civilization ending like a nuclear war, but it will have adverse economic and political consequences on many nations, just like the 2020 pandemic, and the average quality of life across the globe will be affected. The motive of the video is not to scare you, but to keep you informed about possible adverse future conditions so that you can be prepared. If you did find the information provided distressing or disturbing, know that you are not alone. We all are in this together, and that's how we can get through this, by staying strong and collaborating with each other. In the next video, I will be talking about what steps you can take to mitigate some of the adverse effects of the energy crisis. Okay guys, so that's it for me. Thank you for watching. And if you did find that video informative, don't forget to drop a like, and all the views expressed in the video are from our analysis, so if you disagree with our views, it's completely fine. Do feel free to drop a comment down below and let us know what you think. Cheers.